Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be starting episode 6 of our deep dive series, the Catacombs, and where we just try to guide you through specific D2R edits and tutorials. So with that said, today's topic is going to be all about using custom and textures and embedding them in unused models so you can have a separate kind of custom monster from all the rest. So with that said, if you guys are enjoying the content, make sure you like the video, subscribe. You guys know how it works. And with that out of the way, let's just roll right into it. So the first thing I'll say is that there's no text file edits today. Because it's like all visual, we're going to be messing with JSONs, textures, and models, and that's really it. So if this is the kind of stuff you've been waiting for, then here we are. But with that said, we're going to be editing a Dark Wanderer kind of model clone to make it look how we want. And again, the important part is keeping it separate from the other Dark Wanderer. So any changes we make, we don't want it to affect that one, and therefore we're going to have to go through some model and texture hoops to make sure that happens. So to get started, I'm just going to grab all the files we need. The only thing I'm going to edit to start, just to show everything working, is going to be the texture file for the Wanderer himself. So that's going to be in data, HD, character, enemy, and then inside the Dark Wanderer folder, inside textures. And the only thing I need to edit is going to be his albedo outfit. As a reminder, if you have not seen our models or textures videos, definitely watch those. They'll explain a lot more about this kind of stuff. But we're going to take this, open up in Noesis. So again, you might have seen us use this in a previous video, but we're going to use this program. Big shout out to the original creators. But we're going to use that to get our texture converted and edited how we want. So with Noesis open, let's go ahead and go into this textures folder. This is our kind of base texture here. So I'm going to export that as a PNG, and we'll leave it as whatever file name it wants. That's fine. And I'm going to go ahead and open that with Photoshop. You use GIMP or Paint or whatever you'd like. And then we're just going to change the color or something real quick. Just so instead of brown, it's clearly visible that it's been changed. And I don't know, sure, blue looks fine. I guess we'll make it a little more noticeable. Sure. All right, there we go. So there's our custom texture we've edited. Obviously, if you're doing your own thing, you'd probably spend more than 30 seconds on it. So let's just go ahead and save that. And now we got our new one here. So I'm going to close this, refresh the folder in Noesis so it shows up. There's our edited one. Now we can export that as a texture. And because we're using this texture in a model, we want to use -txt5 as the advanced option. If we were using this in a particle instead, then we're going to use -RGBA32. And in very rare cases, for either models or particles, you might find a -DXT1 that you need to use. So if you experience weird crashing, just try that. But again, for our purposes, DXT5 is what we want, so we're going to export that. And this is our new edited texture. So I'm going to delete everything. We don't need it anymore. And then we're going to rename this back to the original so that it replaces the original texture. So obviously, if I've done everything right here, then we've now edited the texture to replace the original, and the Dark Wanderer should now appear blue in-game as far as his outfit goes. And then while it's loading, you'll get to see our kind of new warp we made in the previous video. So if you'd like to learn that kind of stuff, definitely check that out. It's good to know. And so here's our level. We're going to go ahead and take a hop in. And here's our blue NPC. So we can see our new textures taking effect. But just like I mentioned earlier, if we were to go to Act 3 or something right now and see the Dark Wanderer appear there, he would also be blue. And that very well might not be what we want. Definitely not what we want for this tutorial video. So we're going to make some changes for that. So we know the texture works. Now it's time to kind of decouple everything from each other. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to go into our enemy folder here, and we're going to copy the darkwanderer.json file that it would normally use, and that we have it set to use in monsters.json. So we're going to copy that out, and I want to rename this to NPC demo. So now it's going to use a different JSON file than the original, and I also want to go to this monsters.json that we edited last episode, and instead of telling it to use darkwanderer.json, I'm now telling it to use npcdemo.json. So we're just going to update that, and we're all set there. Now we're ready to edit both the model and the texture. So for the model, I'm just going to go ahead and we'll grab that out and put it in its same folder location, and we'll kind of switch that up in a minute here. HT character enemy. Dark Wanderer, and I'm just going to grab the lowest quality version, the LOD3 version. A, I don't feel like editing all these, but B, this is the least restrictive on textures and stuff, because it's just going to choose, again, the lowest quality kind of denominator. But that's the file we're going to edit today. And so now we get to pull up our second kind of custom program to help us make sense of the next edits we'll be making. And so for that, we're going to be using D2R MOPA. Again, this is just a quick little helper program I whipped up for models and particles to help you change textures, do some basic conversions, stuff like that. So we're going to open that up and get rolling on that. So there's two files we care about, the actual MOPA program itself, as well as the GR2 viewer, which is basically just your model viewer. So if you're to open that up, you can select load file, load your model, and that'll let you view everything. It does not import or export. It's just for us viewing information. So I'm going to go ahead and select our model file, rename, and I'm just going to add .gr2 at the end. And this will associate that program with it. I've already kind of used this before, but again, you might need to just open the program and load it manually if you haven't. But once we click that, it's going to open up the actual model. So as I said, we're not really going to do much here, but see what textures it's currently using by selecting this texture list. And if we go down to the very bottom, sorry, if we go down here, we're going to see that this Dark Wanderer outfit alb, this is the texture that I was just editing, that it expects to find this texture in this location, and that is embedded in the model itself. So when you go to change these things, especially when you're cloning other monsters and changing the visuals how you like, it's still going to be pulling its kind of color information from this location. So you can never kind of decouple it from the original, because if you change it here, it's going to change it for the original that also uses this location. So all we need to do now that we understand kind of where this is stored is just count what entry this is. So obviously this is going to be our first entry here, and we just count to the bottom to see what entry it is. So for us, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's going to be the 11th entry. And that is all we needed this for, is just to make sure our file and to note our position. So now with that knowledge in hand, we're going to open up our, clear it out here. We're going to open up our model program. We're going to go ahead and load that that model that we just kind of reviewing. So we'll just go ahead and open that, and then we're just going to save it as anything different. So for now, we'll just kind of add a 3 there, and we'll call it a day. And now is where we select the model texture replace function. So in this dropdown, we're going to select 11. Again, that was the kind of entry for that that texture reference. And now we can type in the reference we want it to look for our file. So unlike the particles where you have to have it match the length, we do not on this. So you can use any particle path you want. So we're just going to make it something simple like data custom npc demo al.texture. So this is now where it's going to look for that texture instead of the default kind of path, HD character enemy, blah, blah, blah. So that's all I'm going to do is just, again, we're giving it a new texture name as well as a new place to find that texture, and we're going to replace that. And now when I go back to this folder, we'll see our new kind of model created. And if we open this model and go to the very bottom, we'll now see that it's been updated with a new texture path. So now everything's ready to go. It's going to look for the model in or that texture in the correct location. And we can technically continue from here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. We're going to go to our new location, which again is just data custom. We'll paste that in here and then rename it to match what we told it, which was just NPC demo. So now everything is linked once again. So this is kind of step one, is we've referenced our new texture in a different location. So we can pull that differently, but obviously it's still using some of the info from the, oh, I messed up. I didn't undo the name. I apologize. So if we go to data HD, I forgot to rename it back. So there we go. We just got to undo our little renames there. So again, once more, it kind of takes place of the original. And then one other thing I'll do is I'm going to go into the Send-Me folder, into the JSON. And instead of letting it choose where it says torso.model, if you notice the actual files all have, underscore LOD, that's for level of detail. So instead of letting it decide for itself, which level of detail to use, I'm going to tell it, no, use LOD3. That's the only one I bothered editing, so don't use any others. And now we can go ahead and start it again, and we should see that once more, even though we've changed our texture location, everything should still match, but we still are using the Wanderer model. So we're going to want to separate that out once more so that we're using a different model entirely also. All right, so we go to our new location, and there we go. So you can see it looks a little different. It's a little lighter and stuff than it was before compared to the old blue, and that's because it no longer has a texture definition. So now we're going to show that part of it real quick. This is a pretty easy part, but you are going to have to do this for any new texture, whether you're using a new model or not. So for that, we're just going to go to Data HD, and you're going to see a file texture-cache.json. Again, it's a pretty simple edit we need. It's just a kind of copy and paste thing, but we're going to drag this out, and we're going to do a search for the original texture name, which, if you remember, was Dark Wanderer Outfit Alb. So we're just going to give it a second to sort, and let's do our search. Dark Wanderer. Oh, here it is. I got lucky. So it's the very first texture here. We just want to copy this whole thing from one bracket to the next. And I would recommend just leaving it right here, hitting enter, pasting that in. And again, now we're giving it the new texture path. So we put it in data custom, and we just named it NPC demo. So this is the new texture thing. We're not going to change anything else because we happen to want it to look like it already did, with the specifically being format 62, which is the specific type of DXT5 and stuff it is. But anyways, we want to leave it like that. We're just updating the actual texture path with our new option, and we're going to save that. And just to show the difference, if you remember the last, this kind of, take a quick screenshot. And now when we come back into it, you'll notice that it's much different as far as the actual color goes. So again, here is the without a reference color blue. And then once we've added that color reference and there, or that texture reference, and more specifically, that format that it now knows to use, you'll see that the blue should be back to a much darker blue like we originally had it. And there we go. So you can see it's probably pretty obvious, but I'll go ahead and do a quick comparison real quick in the Photoshop. So you can see, how much different that blue is, because before it did not have that texture definition, so it didn't know what format to use, and so you get that kind of defaulted. So we've almost done everything. You've stuck around to the end. I congratulate you. We have one step left, but one step left, but this is the kind of fun and easy part. We cannot add a new model file name. I've explained in depth more in the previous videos, but essentially this bin file here is ruining our day. It has a backup and a definition of what every model and what LODs they use. So what level of details they each kind of just, again, every texture and model in the game is kind of stored there. So if it's not in that list, you cannot use it. It will just crash because it doesn't know what LOD version to use because it's not in that master list, so it'll crash. So one thing we can do to get around that, luckily, is they left a lot of test files in the game. So we have our model file here. So again, if we go to data, HD, character, enemy, dark wanderer, here's our model file that we're using right now to load everything. What we can do is to separate it but still have it be something inside this bin is we can go to data, HD, env for environment, and there's a folder in here. Let's see, model. And inside here, you're going to see a test folder. We're very thankful for this test folder because in here, there's a lot of unused models with more models inside the subfolders, etc. But this will give you some spare parts, if you will. So we can take one of these. So I'm just going to take this one, for example, and I'll just use the LOD3 version like mine is, just so there's no weird hiccups there. Because obviously I'm using the LOD3 level torso as well, so we'll just make everything, match nicely for that argument's sake. I'm just going to rename it and rename this model that I've already edited to this and put it in the correct location. So once more, I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and we're going to match this location. So HD environment model. And then this is going to be going into the tests folder. And again, we want to rename it exactly this. And so now it's going to actually think it's loading this, but it's technically the Dark Wanderer model that we've already edited with our custom stuff. So the bin will be happy because it has all these test files included in it, and it knows which LOD to kind of use for the different things. But just as a quick reminder, I'm just going to go ahead and rename this real fast just to prove it. If we go into this, this is just our Wanderer model that we've already made our custom edit to. So now we can kind of trick the game, if you will, into making that bin happy. And now all we need to do is update it in that JSON file so it now looks in the proper location. So again, instead of looking in this, data HD character, blah, 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 it's going to now be looking in this environment folder where we had to put it. And again, we've renamed it now to this. And there we go. So now we've updated everything, and we are finally at the actual end of the road. So I know you guys have been patient with this video, thanks. But now we've completely separated the model, the texture, from the monster itself. So now you can have your blue Dark Wanderer with whatever custom items, particles, stats, etc. And it's not going to look or interfere with the original at all. So obviously you can do this with items, monsters, etc. But it is a bit of a work to get everything going like that. But as you can see now, our demo NPC comes up fine. I'll try to see if we can get that 3 guy to show up, but I'm pretty sure this character has already done all that and we don't see it, but we'll hope for the best. So let's just take a quick run out here, see if we see the original. He would make me look good. Nope, I didn't think so. I need a new character for that, but thought I'd try. So anyways, that's been a tutorial as a video. I hope you can find appreciation for it. It took a lot of effort to, put all the pieces together and get you guys going on it. But that will allow you to fully create your own kind of custom models, textures, separate them, and start enjoying D2R modding. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.